This is a major warning. Do not eat these foods we're about to talk about. Do not eat these foods that they are saying that 80% of Americans are now poisoned from. All right, they are putting these fertility reducing and puberty blocking chemicals inside of our food right now. And they are saying that new studies suggest that over 80% of Americans now have these chemicals inside of their body, all right? And this is children's food as well. They're specifically targeting food that children eat with these chemicals, all right? So you do not want to be eating this. This is part of a depopulation plan, all right? We know that this plan has been out in the open for decades now, has been talked about openly, and especially the past few years, it has been brought to the forefront. And now we are seeing major chunks of our food supply admittedly now being contaminated with fertility blocking and puberty blocking chemicals for adults and children that eat this food. All right, so that's what the studies are saying. This is a major warning to grow your own food, all right? And they're already trying to outlaw and ban growing your own food as well, all right? I don't know if you saw this article that just came out recently as well. They are saying that growing your own food, urban agriculture and homesteading, raised bed gardening, all these things, they're saying it's way worse for the environment. And they're saying that it's exponentially more of a quote carbon footprint, right? This number that they make up, and they make up all these arbitrary things to judge it by. They were judging it by the pathways. They were judging it by what kind of materials they use to create a raised bed, right? All these things, these very arbitrary things that they are accounting for to say that urban agriculture is now bad, and this is going to lead to being banned in the future. And at the same time, the only food that's going to be available is going to be poisoned. All right, they were saying that food that you grow yourself is 6 times is worse than food grown on a conventional farm, where they are spraying it with these toxic chemicals and toxic pesticides that are reducing fertility and inhibiting puberty in children. All right, and I love farming. All right, I have a big garden out here. I just planted a bunch of rows of corn today. All right, but I'm not going to be spraying this toxic junk on my corn. All right, I'm not going to be spraying this stuff, and this stuff is being sprayed on food that children are eating. All right, so you need to be growing your own food. All right, I just planted 3 rows of corn today, 3 big rows of corn. I'm digging out more of the garden. All right, we have a bunch of trays of stuff. We have a bunch of lettuce, kale, tomatoes we're going to plant out soon. And we're planting some more trays, and we're also going to be direct seeding a lot of stuff soon as well. All right, we got our chickens over here. We are growing out our chickens. We got a ton of baby chicks because the food supply is being contaminated. All right, the food supply is being poisoned, and we are being hit with food that reduces our population. That's what this is boiling down to, and these chemicals were just recently allowed to be put into our food at expanded rates just last year. And now they did a study. They're saying this is by the EPA. Right? The EPA approved this chemical to be expanded last year, and now we are seeing it show up in 80% of Americans. Right? So this is why it's critical. One sec. This is why you need to be doing this. You need to be growing your own food. All right? The chicks are over here sleeping. We have their light off. We are getting them ready to go outside. All right, they're 4 going on 5 weeks. They have a lot of feathers, and we are weaning them off the light. We're turning the light off a bunch for them, so they are getting their more full feathers in so they can withstand the cold outside. We're trying to move them outside because we have even more chicks coming in soon. All right, this is what you need to be doing. We need to be creating these systems to get away from this food supply that's being intentionally and allowed to be poisoned. All right, the EPA just approved this new chemical last year to be expanded. They were using it in small amounts, but they opened up the regulation for it, and now they can go full blown on it, and it's showing up in everything and reducing our fertility and affecting our children. All right, let me put this girl back really quick. But this is the future, growing your own food. We have a big garden. We have a bunch of chickens outside already, full-grown girls. We have a new flock of egg layers, and then we have even more birds coming in, meat birds and birds for production as well. All right, so let me put this girl back really quick. You need to be getting ready. You need to be getting prepared. Let's get into this article here, all right? This was just posted today, February 15th. It says 80% of Americans test positive for this toxic chemical found in Cheerios and Quaker Oats that may cause infertility and delayed puberty. That's what this new study just said. All right, infertility and delayed puberty in children. This is extreme. This is not okay. I have young children that have eaten this exact food that they're warning of, and I'm upset about this. I'm upset that I didn't know about this, that this is being put in our food. I know about tons of these different chemicals they're putting in stuff, but how am I supposed to keep track of all the different ones? There's so many, it's overwhelming. If you look at the back of any box, there's 100 different chemicals. That's why you have to just be baking your own stuff and cooking your own stuff as well. We've been baking a ton of stuff recently since we got onto our homestead, and we have a full stove now. We've been going full-fledged baking a lot of things, but my kids have eaten these things. My kids have eaten a ton of Cheerios, and now they're saying it could be linked to infertility and delayed puberty. This is sick that this is being allowed in our country. It says 4 out of 5 Americans are being exposed to a little-known chemical found in a popular oat-based foods, including Cheerios and Quaker Oats, oatmeal, all this stuff, any oat-based things. They're saying 90% of them are now contaminated. It says this chemical is linked to reduced fertility and altered fetal growth and delayed puberty. So even pregnant women that eat this as well, it could delay fetal growth. I have a pregnant wife as well. This is sick that this is allowed in our food supply, and they market this towards children, right? Kids love Cheerios, and now it's like, why are you doing this to the children? Why are you allowing this? And the EPA allowed this chemical. I'll show it in a minute. They just ramped it up in 2023. EPA ramped it up last year, right? Allowing exponential exposure to this. It says an environmental working group published a study in the Journal of Exposure Science and Environmental Epidemiology on Thursday that found a staggering 80% of Americans tested positive for the harmful pesticide called chlormequat. All right, they're saying, quote, the highly toxic agricultural chemical is federally allowed to be used on oats and other grains imported into the U.S., according to the EWG. When applied to oat and grain crops, chlormequat alters a plant's growth, preventing it from bending over and thus making it easier to harvest. All right, so what it does, it stunts the plant's growth, actually, wheat, and it gives them shorter, thicker stalks so they can harvest it, and the wheat's not like hanging over like this. It's more like this, but it's a little bit shorter so they can harvest it, all right? So it's a growth inhibitor. Imagine what it's doing to our children and to our bodies as well, people that eat this. And just look at a Cheerio box. They market this as heart healthy, all right? They put these heart Cheerios everywhere. They have the little heart-shaped Cheerios. They have hearts over their boxes. Like, it's good for your heart. They're saying, oh, it's giving you 100% whole grain oats, but it's actually loaded with this toxic chemical chlormequat, all right, that is potentially stunting our children's growth and causing infertility in men and women as well. Especially people that are eating this every single day. This accumulates inside of your body and the effects become exponential. All right, quote, just as troubling, we detected the chemical in 92% of oat-based foods purchased in May 2023, including Quaker Oats and Cheerios, the nonprofit organization said in a report published alongside the group's findings. It says General Mills, which makes Cheerios, and PepsiCo, which makes Quaker Oats, didn't immediately respond for comment. All right, it says another particularly concerning data point, After testing for the presence of chlormequat in urine collected from 96 people from 2017 to 2023, they found, quote, higher levels and more frequent detections of chlormequat in the 2023 samples, which suggests consumers' exposure to chlormequat could be on the rise. All right, they're saying for reference, it was detected in 69% of participants in 2017, 74% in 2018, and then 90% of participants in 2023 have high exposures to chlormequat in their urine, actively being exposed to this every single day. It's accumulating in the body and passing through. That's how much, and it's showing up. And it says the research is still ongoing, but it has, quote, potential side effects in animals, which raises questions about whether it could harm humans as well. Yeah, obviously it could harm humans. And they said in fetal growth in animals, it says, quote, changing development of the head and bones and altered key metabolic processes. All right, this is what this multiple studies on this chemical have said. They know what this does, and they've allowed this to spread and contaminate our food supply. All right, all to just make some more money. And there are nefarious sectors as well that want to poison our food supply, our medical system, and overwhelm it. All right, there are bad actors, foreign actors that want to do this to our food supply as well. They're even saying that all the food coming from overseas is loaded with this stuff, right? Loaded with this too. And it's happening domestically as well. All right, it says it's affecting head and bone growth and key metabolic processes and fetal growth as well. So this could be affecting pregnant women, could be affecting their babies developing, all right? This is something, my wife's not eating any of this. My kids aren't eating any of this anymore, any Cheerios, something I just learned about today. And this is what needs to happen. We need to opt out of these foods that are poisoning us and grow our own foods and have our own system, so we don't need to be dependent. We don't have to buy this junk and this food. And you think it's just Cheerios. You think it's innocent. The snack, they marketed heart healthy, all this stuff, and it's loaded with these toxic chemicals. All right, this is sick that this is being allowed to happen. All right, and they're saying that they are recommending that people buy organic products only, that are oat products specifically. But this is happening with everything. This is happening with the wheat. We have GMO wheat now that can now be sprayed with these toxic chemicals. It can now resist the chemicals, right? And that was just something that kind of unleashed onto the country about a decade ago. It started just spreading and contaminating farms, and then all the farmers just converted to it because it started just taking over, all right? And they were getting higher yields. And it's just another product for these companies like Monsanto, Bayer to sell and to control as well, right? So this is full spectrum control of our food supply, our health system. All these things are being hit and contaminated. It's almost impossible to not be exposed to these things, all right? And you want to like shop cheap. You want to go to Aldi. I go to Aldi because it's the cheapest place to go. But then at the same time, a lot of these things are just loaded with these chemicals, all right? At least Aldi has their organic generic brand there, all right, that they have. That's pretty good, all right? So you can avoid a lot of these things. But even that's expensive. Sometimes it's double the price for these things, and you're just forced to be exposed to this crap for your family. And check this out from the EPA. I said the wrong date, but the EPA did expand the maximum allowable amount to pretty much make it so we can have extreme accumulations. They're saying that the tests that are showing up in children are way over the safe level and limits that are allowed to be in their blood. All right, that's what they're saying as well from these tests. And the EPA first allowed chlormequat in 2018, all right, and then in 2020 they increased the maximum tolerable level for the pesticide, right? So it's happening, And it wasn't happening 5 years ago, 6 years ago, before 2018. This was not happening. This was not in our food supply. And now it's being contaminated. Our oats, our cereals, this is getting into feed for animals as well that eat these things as well. It's infecting our entire food supply. And it's just, when is the limit? When is the limit? There's always some new chemical. There's always some new additive. There's always some new scheme to make money to enter into our food supply. Our food supply shouldn't be being exploited like this and manipulated like this, right? It's just how the medical system is set up as well. You get on one thing for one symptom, and then that gives you 5 other symptoms, and now you're on 5 other prescriptions to deal with those symptoms, right? And then you're in this loop where you're on 10, 20 different prescriptions to deal with all the different side effects of the original problem that you first had to deal with, all right? That's what they're doing with our food supply as well. They're just mixing and matching, adding things in all the time to our food supply to try to fix these, quote, problems that we have. And we don't know what the long-term effects are, all right? Not to mention all the microplastics and the nanoplastics that are accumulating inside of our bodies and inside of our food supply as well. Since we were living in our RV for years, all right? And it's hard to avoid plastic water bottles when you live in an RV. It's something that we had to use sometimes, all right? When you're out in the middle of nowhere, you have to have water. And sometimes you can't get clean water sources to fill up your tanks, okay? And even the tanks are plastic. They're just plastic tanks. It's all just plastic. But since we've been on our homestead recently, we have a well with clean water. Tastes so good. It's just like, it's so nice to drink this fresh, clean water that's not contaminated with these plastics, was sitting in the back of a truck. And half of this bottled water in this crap, it's just filled up at some tap, at some random water, some bathtub, right? Some water fill up station in some random spot, right? It's just city water anyways half the time. That's what I'm trying to say here. They're just filling it up with city water in some other city that's just not your city, right? That's what it is a lot of times. Sometimes there's spring water, different things, but even that is questionable sometimes, right? But the best thing is just having your own fresh, deep water well that you can drink and is not contaminated. Drink right from the sink, not passing through or have copper piping and not passing through any plastic to be absorbing any of these chemicals, right? Need to be edging these things out of our life, right? So please hit it up for me down there. Please hit that subscribe, hit that bell if you want to get notified, all right? Because I'm posting every single day. I'm keeping you guys updated on what's going on with our border, with our national security, with our food supply, which is also part of the national security as well. All right, all these things are national security issues. If our food supply is tainted and we can't produce healthy Americans, how are we supposed to be able to have a productive economy when everyone's getting sick? Everyone's getting sick. All these excess deaths are skyrocketing. All these diseases in young people, cancers in young people, skyrocketing. Something's going on. Something's happened the past few years. I think we have an idea of what partially is going on, but there's a culmination of things. There's a lot of different factors that are hitting us right now and affecting our health, affecting our economy, affecting our healthcare system, affecting our food supply, all these things, right? We want to live as long as possible, be as healthy as possible, have our children be healthy, and this is not what we are being set up for. All right, so make sure you're growing your own food. Get your garden going. All right, it's going to be March before you know it. And then by March 20th, 21st, it'll officially be spring. All right, you need to be getting ready. Even if you're up north, try to get some seeds going inside under some lights. All right, get these projects going. Get some chicks going. I got some chicks coming right now that are going through a snowstorm. All right, ordered some chicks, some more chicks for the farm. They're being shipped over here, but they're now going through a snowstorm, right? So pray for the chicks that they get here safe and sound. We're a little bit worried about them. They're going through the storm, but I think they should be all right? So get these projects going on your homestead. Get ready, get prepared. Please hit it up for me down there. I hope you have big blessings for your life and your family, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.